Hello, my name is Manuela Munoz, and I'm going to present my evidence for the course of Global Business Risk and Trends Detection. My topic was commercial bankings in South Africa. Well, where is situated? So we can see it's in the continent of Africa at the very bottom. We consider South Africa to be a medium high risk country since they have a weak economic growth in the last 10 years. The poverty rate is at 22%, which leads to high unemployment rate and social risks. The labor demand and supply is at a mismatch, which means that there are not as many jobs available. Their corruption levels are high. There is a lack of FDI, and the currency is volatile, which means that they depend on other currencies. The recent riots have negatively impacted the economy and social injustices, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic. So what are commercial bankings? Commercial bankings are the ones that accept deposits, lend money, process payments, give checks, provide credit, loans, and accounts, and usually have safe deposit boxes. They are the ones that create capital, credit, and liquidity in the market. And the connection of commercial banks and economy is that if a bank is effective, it will lead to a better business environment that would transform into the reduction of poverty and increasing living standards given financial stability. Here we can see a list of some of the commercial bankings located in South Africa. So the indicators that we selected are real interest rate, inflation, gross domestic product, unemployment rate, and per capita income. The real interest rate is the one that has to be adjusted in order to remove the effects of inflation to reflect the real cost of funds. Their main objective is to balance the economy and to avoid a huge impact on inflation in the economy. And the purpose is to stabilize prices, create jobs, and keep economic secure. In 2019, we can see that the real interest rate was at 5.3%, and by 2020, the real interest rate was at 22.3%, which means that the economy dropped and it is a tendency of inflation increase. And it is due to the pandemic, since it is common to see a drop in real interest rate following a financial crisis. Inflation is the rise of prices or the fall in the value of money, and a low inflation benefits banks, and the unexpected rise of inflation will usually harm them. For commercial banks, the use of inflation is to keep economic growth steady and prices stable. The GDP in 2016 of South Africa was around 323.5 billion US dollars, and it is due to the mining industry dropping production. In the following years, the GDP started to rise up until 2020 because many industries had to stop completely, including the bank sector, which fell by 23%, which led to a GDP of 335.4 billion US dollars. The next indicator is unemployment rate, which is the percentage of people that could be employed but are not. This indicator is essential for banks since it translates into uncertainty of people with credit history could actually be able to pay their debt. In 2019, there has been a peak on unemployment, leaving the rate at 28.4%. The peak of unemployment is high due to the lack of education and labor demand and supply mismatch. And by 2021, when the effects of the pandemic were seen, the unemployment rate was at 34.9%. The per capita income is the amount of money earned per person in a certain area, and it helps to evaluate the standard of living and quality of the population. The currency in South Africa is the rand, and by 2020, there has been a decrease due to the pandemic, where the average income was around 21,448 rands. But however, last year in 2021, we conclude that the economy has been slightly stabilized since the average income rise up to 24,051 rands. And in order to have a better panorama of a country profile, one had to read and stay updated with the news, major events, and government decisions. So we selected this 5, which is an article in the Financial Times from 2022 that stated that the high community prices will help South Africa reduce its debt sooner, and this can lead to the decrease of public debt. The Economist article of 2020 was based on high interest rate in South Africa. It stated that citizens could not afford an annual rate of 22%. The African News had an article referred to the difficult economy recovery from the pandemic, and the Minister of Finance in 2022 stated that the economy was uneven and it remains at a high risk. The South African news made an article based on the news of 2019 where Nigerians called upon the Boko Haram to attack South African riots and it started to rise, and that leads to a drop in the economy and public rates arise since government paid for damages. And lastly, the Eyewitness News published an article based on the speech given by the president of South Africa in 2022 that encompasses to buy local goods in order to rebuild the economy and create more jobs so that the unemployment rate will decrease. And to finalize, we concluded that the insights of the indicators, such as the quantitative and qualitative ones, help banks make decisions and apport to the economy of South Africa. And we concluded that South Africa is a moderated high risk country.